Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like your brain is less a powerful processor and more just this chaotic, completely overflowing inbox?
Oh, definitely.
The constant mental chatter, the feeling of like a dozen unfinished thoughts, ideas, tasks, all just screaming for attention at the same time.
hmm It's exhausting.
It really is. It's that relentless hum of things you haven't dealt with yet, and it just drains your energy before your day even properly gets going. We've all been there, right? Just feeling totally overwhelmed by the sheer volume of stuff we're trying to remember and do.
Absolutely. It's a very common modern experience, isn't it?
It feels like it. Well, today we're plunging into a methodology that really promises to, well, cut through all that noise, clear the mental clutter, and fundamentally shift your relationship not just with productivity, but also crucially with your own peace of mind.
Yeah, that peace of mind part is key.
Exactly. We're talking about David Allen's groundbreaking book, Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, often just called GTD, right?
That's the one. GTD.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack GTD's, I think, truly revolutionary approach. It's about clearing that mental clutter and boosting productivity, but not just by doing more stuff, but by thinking more clearly and maybe more confidently.
That's a great way to put it. Confidently.
As Allen himself famously puts it, and this quote really resonates, your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. It's all about freeing up that cognitive bandwidth for what actually matters.
And you know what's truly remarkable about GTD is just how relevant it still is. It was published way back in 2001.
Wow, yeah. Feels like a different era almost.
It kind of does, especially compared to today's constant information flood, right?
Yeah.
But it hasn't just survived, it's really thrived. And I think that's because it's not just another collection of, productivity hacks or recommending a specific app.
Dive deeper than that.
Exactly. It's more of a universal mind management system, a really foundational framework. And its genius, I think, lies in how adaptable it is. So whether you're a high-powered executive drowning in emails, or maybe a student juggling complex assignments, or frankly just someone trying to manage a household and personal goals, GTD provides the structure that you can totally tailor.
So it works for different people, different tech levels.
Absolutely. Varying levels of technical expertise, incredibly diverse interests. It's not simply about checking off tasks. It's really about achieving this profound state of stress-free productivity and genuine mental clarity.
Stress-free productivity. I like the sound of that.
Me too. And what's fascinating here is how it tackles the very anxiety that so often goes hand in hand with productivity pushes. It aims to turn that feeling of being perpetually behind into one of, well, calm, confident control.
I think that's such a crucial distinction you make there. The idea that it's not just about getting more done, but doing it without feeling like your head is about to explode. That's the dream, isn't it?
Pretty much.
And for anyone who's maybe dipped their toe into productivity systems before, you probably know GTD isn't just some random collection of clever tricks. It's very structured, almost elegant, built on 5 interconnected steps.
Right. The 5 steps.
Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. Now, I know many of you listening might already be familiar with these terms, but let's really unpack each one, not just what they are, but maybe why they work, and the deeper implications for how we manage our mental landscapes.
Indeed. And it's important to see that these 5 steps aren't just like a simple checklist you run through once and you're done.
Right. It's a cycle.
Exactly. They form a continuous dynamic loop, a cycle designed to create what David Allen calls a trusted system, and crucially, a system outside your head.
Okay, trusted system. That sounds important.
It is, and it raises a really important question, I think. What does it truly mean to trust your system?
Yeah.
To trust it so completely that your brain genuinely lets go of trying to remember everything.
Okay, so it's not just having a system, but
Yeah.
believing in it.
Precisely. And how does building that kind of unwavering trust fundamentally impact your mental energy and, importantly, your capacity for deep, focused, creative work? Because, let's face it, if you don't implicitly trust that your system is holding all your commitments, some part of your brain will always remain stuck trying to remember things.
Which completely defeats the purpose.
Totally defeats the purpose of the whole exercise. It has to be trustworthy.
Okay, so let's dive into that first step, capture. Now, for those of you who maybe dabbled in GTD, you know it's about getting everything out of your head. But I think for anyone who's really tried to implement this seriously, the real magic, and often, let's be honest, The real struggle lies in that word, everything, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The scope is huge.
It's not just the obvious to-dos like finish the report. It's the half-formed ideas, the nagging worries, those sudden inspirations that pop up when you're in the shower, the things you tell yourself, oh, I'll just remember that later.
The remember later trap.
Exactly. And this is where that core GTD quote really comes alive. Your mind is for having ideas, not holding them. Just pause and think about how profoundly liberating that concept actually is.
It really shifts your perspective on what your brain is for.
Totally. Think of your mind right now listening to this.
Yeah.
Is it like a perfectly clear, pristine workspace, ready for deep thought? Or is it perhaps a bit more like that cluttered computer desktop we all secretly have?
Guilty is charged sometimes.
Right. Dozens of open windows, virtual sticky notes scattered everywhere, files piled on top of files, all just vying for your attention. Capturing is this rigorous, almost therapeutic process of taking every single one of those items off that mental screen and neatly moving it into a designated secure inbox somewhere else.
Getting it out.
Getting it out. Our source material gives us simple examples, like that sudden thought to buy groceries or maybe a brilliant idea for a new business. The temptation we all face constantly is to just hold on to it mentally. We tell ourselves, oh, I'll get to that email in 5 minutes, or I'll definitely remember to call John after this meeting.
Yeah, we overestimate our mental RAM.
We really do. But that's precisely the trap GTD seeks to help us avoid. Every single one of those little open loops, even if it feels small and insignificant, consumes precious mental energy. It runs like a constant background process on your brain's CPU.
That's a good analogy.
It creates this low-level hum of anxiety and just drains your cognitive bandwidth, often without you even fully realizing it's happening. So the discipline here isn't just what to capture, but consistently capturing everything, especially those vague anxieties that tend to just linger and fester.
Precisely. And the psychological benefit of this brain download, as Alan sometimes calls it, is just immense. It immediately reduces your mental load. It quiets that constant background hum of unacknowledged commitments.
Yeah, that hum is draining.
It really is. Think
Yeah.
about it. If you're constantly subconsciously trying to remember to buy milk, or to send that one email you promised, or to follow up with a client about something small, that takes up valuable cognitive bandwidth.
Even if you're not actively thinking about it.
Exactly. It's still running. By externalizing it, by capturing it into a reliable system you trust, you free up your mind to be truly present, to focus completely on the task at hand, or, just as importantly, simply to relax without that nagging feeling that you're forgetting something.
That freedom sounds amazing.
It is. The core insight here is that by offloading even the tiniest thoughts and perceived obligations, you're not just clearing, like, mental space, you're actively reclaiming cognitive processing power for higher-level thinking. You're transforming that frantic busyness into a state of calm effectiveness.
Okay, so how do you make this capture system trustworthy? Does it need to be complicated?
Not at all. What makes a system truly trustworthy in this capture phase isn't its sophistication, it's really its immediate availability and its reliability.
Always there when you need it.
Exactly. The tool itself is far, far less important than the unwavering habit of always capturing every single time something occurs to you. It could be a simple notepad and pen you keep by your bedside or always have in your pocket, something you can literally just jot a thought down on instantly.
Low-tech works.
Totally. It could be a physical in tray on your desk where you just toss every piece of paper that needs your attention. Or, sure, it could be a digital app like Evernote, Notion, Todoist, whatever. Something constantly open or easily accessible on your phone or computer, ready for instant input.
Zero friction.
That's the key phrase. Zero friction. Whenever something pops into your head, you need an immediate designated place to put it, trusting it won't be lost. Once it's captured, you can genuinely relax because it's no longer your brain's job to remember it. The system has it.
Okay, but that's just the beginning, right? Having a big pile of captured stuff isn't productive in itself.
Not at all. That's just step one. Once it's captured, you then face the crucial next question. What do you actually do with all this raw input?
And that leads us directly to the critical next step, clarify. So once you've done that initial brain dump, you've got this inbox, could be physical, could be digital, just filled with raw, undifferentiated items. Clarify means systematically going through each captured item one by one and making some pretty definitive decisions. What does this mean and what action, if any, is required?
This is where the thinking happens.
Exactly. This is where those vague thoughts and sort of amorphous ideas truly transform into concrete, actionable steps. It's the moment of conscious decision-making for each item.
Mm-hmm.
And the fundamental branching point here, the absolute bedrock of this clarify step, is a simple but really profound question. Is it actionable?
The big sort.
Yeah, the big sort.
Mm.
If the answer is no, then GTD offers 3 clear, distinct paths to prevent that mental clutter from just piling up again. Path 1,
Mm-hmm.
you trash it. It's genuinely irrelevant. You don't need it. Discard it without a second thought. Be ruthless.
Let it go.
Let it go. Path 2, you incubate it. This means putting it on a someday maybe list. These are things you might want to do later, but you aren't committing to right now. Those dream projects, distant ideas, travel plans.
Park it for later.
Exactly. Park it safely. Or path 3, it's reference material. This is information you need to keep, but you don't need to act on it right now. Like meeting notes, a helpful article, a contact list, instructions. These non-actionable items get removed from your active mental processing, but they're preserved neatly somewhere you can find them later.
So they're filed away, not cluttering things up.
Precisely. But if the answer to is it actionable is yes, and this is where GTD really gets practical, then the next question is the most crucial one. What's the next action?
The very next step.
Exactly. And David Allen is incredibly precise about this. It's not about the overall project or the big goal yet. It's about the very next physical, visible activity required to move that item forward. It demands absolute specificity, no vagueness allowed.
Right, like call Bob, not deal with Bob situation.
Perfect example. And this is also where the famous and frankly brilliant 2-minute rule comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
The rule is, if the next action takes less than 2 minutes, do it now.
Such a powerful little rule.
It really is. This sub-rule is a fantastic tool to prevent tiny little tasks from becoming mental burdens or just accumulating into these larger daunting lists that you never want to tackle. It's an immediate win, closes the loop instantly.
Raise momentum.
Totally. Let's ground this with a few examples from the source material, make it concrete. So say you've captured doctor appointment. Okay, is it actionable? Yes. What's the next action? Well, it's probably call doctor's office and book appointment. If you reckon that call will take under 2 minutes, you just do it right then and there. Boom, done. That tiny open loop is closed. That's very satisfying. Or say you've captured something bigger, like learn Spanish. Is that actionable? Yes, but it's a huge kind of overwhelming goal, right? So what's the next physical action? Maybe it's research beginner Spanish courses online. That specific bite-sized action will probably take longer than 2 minutes, so it doesn't get done now, but it gets added to your next actions list.
Makes it approachable.
Exactly. The key insight here, I think, is that procrastination often isn't really about laziness. It's frequently just a lack of clarity. GTD tackles that head-on by forcing you in this clarify step to define the very next concrete action, making even the most daunting goal suddenly feel achievable one step at a time.
Yeah, the profound impact of this clarification step is precisely how it combats procrastination. So much of why we feel stuck or why we avoid tasks isn't laziness, like you said. It's often that lack of clarity or just the overwhelming feeling of how big the task seems.
The mental weight of it.
Exactly. When a task feels vague or just monolithic, like write annual report, our brain just naturally defaults to avoiding it. It feels too big, too undefined. But by forcing yourself to ask, okay, what's the next action? You immediately break down that daunting write annual report into something manageable like open last year's report for reference or draft outline for introduction.
Ah, something you can actually do.
Right. You create a clear, small, achievable step that actually invites action instead of triggering resistance. This transforms a vague intention that just causes stress into tangible, consistent progress. It's a huge mental shift.
And that 2-minute rule seems like a secret weapon in this.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's like a micro win generator throughout your day. Think about all those tiny little tasks that constantly float around in your mental periphery, replying to that short email, putting away a book that's out of place, sending a quick confirmation text, tidying one small messy area on your desk.
They add up.
They really do. If you don't do them immediately, using the 2-minute rule, they become mental clutter. Little open loops that just continue to siphon off tiny bits of cognitive energy. But if you tackle them right away, you get that immediate sense of accomplishment, you clear your mental decks, and you prevent the accumulation of those small, nagging tasks that can eventually snowball into a larger, demoralizing list of undone things. It really cultivates a bias towards action.
I can see how that would make a difference quickly.
Absolutely. This whole clarify step makes you incredibly efficient because you're making these real-time conscious decisions about what needs to happen with every single piece of input that comes your way. It prevents indecision, keeps the flow moving.
Okay, so you've captured it, you've clarified it, the next action or where it belongs if it's not actionable. Now what? Where does it actually go? How do you organize all this stuff so you can find it when you need it, but it's out of sight when you don't?
Excellent question. And that brings us neatly to step 3, organize. This is all about sorting those clarified items into specific, categorized lists or containers within your trusted system.
Okay, lists. We all know lists.
Yes, but it's vital to understand these aren't just random piles or general categories like work stuff and home stuff. Each GTD list serves a very particular strategic purpose. They're designed to make your actions visible and accessible when and where you need them, and, just as crucially, to remove them from your active mental workspace when you don't need to be thinking about them.
Ah, okay, so the categories themselves matter.
They matter a lot. The source material highlights the key GTD lists, and they really are foundational to making the system effective. First, you have your next actions lists. These are for the specific physical tasks you can actually do now. Often, these are best filtered by context, which we'll talk more about later. An example would be call John about the budget. Notice the specificity again. It's not just budget. It's a concrete action you can perform. It eliminates ambiguity.
Got it. Actionable verbs.
Exactly. Second, we have projects. Now, in GTD, a project isn't necessarily some huge corporate undertaking. It's defined very simply as any outcome that requires more than one action step to complete.
Oh, okay, so even small things can be projects.
Absolutely. Plan vacation to Spain is obviously a project, but so is write a book. And maybe even fix the leaky faucet if it involves, say, buying parts and then doing the repair. And importantly, a core GTD principle is that every single project on your projects list should always have at least one clearly defined next action attached to it, residing on one of your next actions lists. This is what keeps projects continually moving forward and prevents them from just stagnating as vague goals.
Right, so the project list reminds you of the goal, the next action list tells you what to do next.
Precisely. Then there's the waiting for list. This is super useful. These are items you've delegated to someone else or tasks where you're expecting a response or input from others before you can proceed, like reply from accountant regarding tax documents. This list is crucial for accountability, for timely follow-up, and just ensuring you don't lose track of things that depend on other people.
Keeps things from falling through the cracks when it's not in your court.
Exactly. Fourth, the calendar. Now, this is important. The calendar in GTD is reserved exclusively for time or date-specific tasks and appointments, things that must happen at a particular time or on a specific day. Dentist appointment on Friday at 2 p.m. goes on the calendar. Meeting with the team on Tuesday at 10 a.m. goes on the calendar.
So it's not for just putting general to-dos on a certain day.
Well, that's a common mistake.
Ah.
GTD advises against using the calendar for optional tasks or just wishful thinking. I hope to work on the report on Wednesday. The calendar is for the hard landscape, the appointments and deadlines that are fixed. Your actual work comes from your next actions lists.
That distinction seems really important for keeping the calendar clean.
It is. Finally, there's the someday maybe list. This is where you put all those ideas or plans you might want to do later, but you aren't committed to right now. Things like learn to play guitar, take a cooking class in Italy, renovate the kitchen someday. This list acts as a kind of pressure valve for your aspirations. It allows you to hold onto them safely without them cluttering up your active lists and making you feel guilty for not doing them now.
Like a holding pen for future possibilities.
Exactly, a creative holding pen. And these distinct categories are just brilliant because they dramatically reduce mental effort and decision fatigue later on.
How so?
Well, by separating tasks into these carefully defined buckets, you can focus only on the relevant items at any given moment. This directly connects to the idea of context, which is central to the engage step. When you look at your next actions at office list, for instance, you're not overwhelmed by seeing vague project names or things you're waiting on from other people or errands you need to run later. You see only what you can actually do right now, given your current situation at the office.
Yeah.
This creates incredible focus and reduces overwhelm.
I can see that. Filtering out the noise.
Precisely. And the implication of explicitly separating projects from next actions is really profound for tackling big things. So often we feel overwhelmed by big goals because we perceive them as these monolithic tasks. We think, oh my God, I need to write a book. And the sheer scale just paralyzes us.
Yeah, where do you even start?
Exactly. But by clearly defining write a book as a project on your projects list, and then always identifying that single concrete next action like research publishing options, or outline chapter 1 and putting that on your next actions list, you create a clear, actionable pathway for progress. It stops the project from feeling like some insurmountable mountain and transforms it into a series of achievable, manageable steps. It's a subtle but incredibly powerful shift in perspective.
That makes a lot of sense, breaking it down relentlessly.
Yes, and there's an additional, incredibly powerful organizational layer GTD encourages, which is using context-based lists. These are essentially subcategories for your next actions, organized by where you need to be or what tools you need available, or sometimes even what state of mind you're in to do them.
Okay, like the at office example you gave.
Exactly. Think at office, at home, at computer, at calls, at errands, or even something like at low energy for simple tasks you can do when you're tired. How do these make task execution smoother and more efficient? Well, say you find yourself unexpectedly stuck in traffic or waiting for someone. Instead of just stewing, you can quickly pull up your at calls list on your phone and knock out a few necessary phone calls.
Making use of found time.
Precisely. If you sit down at your computer, you check your at computer list for tasks that require a screen and keyboard. If you're heading out to run errands, you check your at errands list. This approach leverages your environment and your current state, making your work flow much more efficiently because you're only looking at tasks that are actually possible and relevant at that precise moment.
That sounds incredibly efficient. So now we've got everything beautifully organized, captured, clarified, put into these specific categories and contexts. How do you make sure this whole system doesn't just become, a static archive? How does it stay a living, breathing, useful resource that you actually trust? That's precisely where step 4, reflect, comes in. And you could argue this is the most crucial step of all. It's like the circulatory system that keeps the entire GTD framework alive, healthy, and effective.
The linchpin.
Yeah, maybe the linchpin. Reflect means regularly, systematically reviewing your entire system to stay current, stay clear, and stay truly focused. And this isn't just a casual glance through your lists now and then. GTD emphasizes it as a dedicated, structured process. Because without it, even the most diligently built system will eventually decay. It'll become an untrusted collection of old information, outdated tasks, and forgotten commitments.
And then you stop using it and you're back to square one.
Exactly. You lose trust. The absolute backbone of GTD, the non-negotiable ritual that David Allen champions over and over again, is the weekly review.
Ah, yes, the famous weekly review.
Our source material quotes him directly on this, saying something like, "The weekly review is the backbone of GTD. It keeps you grounded and proactive." And he really means it. This is not presented as a luxury or an optional extra if you have time. It's positioned as the vital maintenance for your mind and your system. It's the dedicated time you need to allocate each week. Usually, people find 1 to 2 hours works well to completely reset, recalibrate, and ensure your system is truly, accurately reflecting your current reality, your commitments, and your aspirations.
It's like a system reset and update every week.
Totally. So what exactly happens during a typical weekly review, according to the source material? Well, you usually start by reviewing your completed tasks from the past week. And this isn't just admin. It's actually a powerful way to acknowledge your wins, build momentum, and recognize the progress you've made.
Important for motivation.
Very important. Then you update your project lists. You look at what's moved forward, what might have stalled, what new projects have maybe emerged during the week, and importantly, if any projects are now actually completed or maybe dormant and should be moved off the active list.
Keeping the project list current.
Yes. Then you recapture any new tasks, ideas, or thoughts that might have accumulated in your head or in loose notes since your last capture session. You effectively clear the decks mentally for the week ahead, ensuring nothing was missed or forgotten. Get it all back into this system.
Emptying the collection buckets.
Right. You also systematically check your waiting for items. Has anything come back? Does anything need a follow-up nudge to keep things moving?
Chasing things up.
Exactly. And crucially, you take a moment to review your someday maybe list. Are there any ideas on there that might now be relevant or exciting or timely to activate and turn into actual projects? It keeps those future possibilities alive and considered.
Reconnecting with aspirations.
And beyond this big weekly review, GTD also suggests incorporating quicker daily reviews as well. Maybe just 5–10 minutes each morning, just checking your calendar for the day's appointments and glancing at your most urgent next actions to make sure you're clear on your priorities for the day ahead.
It's absolutely true. Reflection is not a luxury. It is an absolute necessity for GTD to work long term. Think of it as the vital maintenance for your entire mind management system. Without regular review, like you said, even the most meticulously built GTD setup will slowly but surely become just a stagnant archive rather than a trusted living resource.
Untrusted archive of good intentions.
Exactly. It's like having a beautiful, high-performance car but never ever taking it in for an oil change or a tire rotation. Eventually, it's either going to break down or at the very least, it's going to perform way below its
Well,
potential.
that makes sense.
A consistent weekly review prevents things from falling through the cracks. It's how you consciously reprioritize as circumstances inevitably change, because they always do, right? And it's how you maintain that precious mental clarity over time. It's really about building unwavering trust in your future self, trusting that your system will surface exactly what you need when you need it, which prevents that low-level anxiety of potentially forgetting something important.
Trusting the system frees the mind.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the broader picture, think about how regular reflection aligns your daily tactical work, all those next actions, with your bigger strategic goals. It prevents you from just being reactive, constantly putting out the latest fire or responding to the most urgent sounding demand.
Stepping back to see the forest for the trees.
Exactly. By consistently stepping back, taking that bird's eye view of all your commitments and projects during the weekly review, you gain perspective. You can consciously ask yourself, are the actions I'm taking this week truly contributing to my larger objectives? Or am I just busy spinning my wheels on less important tasks? It transforms your work from just a series of urgent reactions into a series of intentional, purposeful steps toward a desired future. This is where you connect your purpose to your daily practice.
That connection sounds incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
So, okay, you've done the review. You're confident your system is complete, it's accurate, it reflects your current reality. How do you then decide what to actually do next? How do you engage with the system to get the right things done effectively? And that brings us perfectly to the fifth and final step, and it's really where all the previous hard works, capturing, clarifying, organizing, reflecting, culminates. Step 5 is engage.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. This is about taking action. But crucially, it's about doing so based on your clear, organized, trusted system and guiding your choices mindfully, rather than just being driven by stress, random urgency, or simply reacting to the latest email ping or the loudest demand of the room. This is where that stress-free productivity really starts to manifest itself in your daily experience.
Making conscious choices about your actions.
Precisely. And GTD provides 4 key criteria to help you choose what to do in any given moment. These are like a mental checklist, a decision-making framework to help you make intelligent choices about where to direct your limited time and energy effectively.
The 4 criteria model.
Yes. First, context. Where are you right now? Are you physically at the office, at home, on the phone, out running errands? What tools do you have available? Like we discussed with the at list, if you're at your computer, you can tackle computer-specific tasks. If you're in the car, park safely, of course,
Yeah.
you might pull up your at calls list. Context is king.
Matching tasks to your environment.
Second, time available. How much time do you realistically have right now before your next commitment? Do you have just 5 minutes to spare before your next meeting starts, perfect for a quick 2-minute task? Or do you have a solid 2-hour block of uninterrupted time where you can really dive deep into a complex task?
Getting the task to the time slot.
Third, energy level. Let's be honest, our energy fluctuates throughout the day, doesn't it? Are you feeling full of energy right now, mentally sharp, ready to tackle complex, demanding work that requires high brain power? Or are you feeling a bit drained, maybe better suited for simpler, more routine, low brain power tasks like filing or tidying up?
Being realistic about your capacity.
Absolutely. And finally, the 4th criterion is priority. Considering your larger goals, your current projects, your outstanding commitments, and any upcoming deadlines, what's objectively the most important or highest leverage thing you could be focusing on right now, given your context, time, and energy?
Bringing it all together for the best choice.
Exactly. Let's use a simple, relatable example from the source material to illustrate how this framework works in practice. Imagine you find yourself at home. It's getting late in the evening. You have pretty low energy after a long day, and you figure you only have about 30 minutes before dinner needs to happen.
A common scenario.
Very common. You don't just randomly pick something from your massive, undifferentiated to-do list in your head. Instead, using the GTD framework, you would consciously filter. You'd look at your context-based lists for at-home tasks. Then you'd filter those for tasks suitable for low energy. And finally, you'd look for things on that filtered list that take less than 30 minutes to complete. From that very specific, manageable, pre-filtered list, you pick one item and you act on it with confidence, knowing it's probably the most appropriate and right thing for you to be doing at that exact moment. It's not about being busy. It's about being strategically effective.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how this engaged step fundamentally shifts you from simply being busy to actually being effective. So many people, you see them, they're busy all day long, constantly doing things, emails flying, calls being made, but at the end of the day, they collapse feeling exhausted, but also feeling like they haven't really moved the needle on anything truly important.
The busy trap.
Exactly, the busy trap. This framework helps you make consciously intelligent decisions about where to focus your limited time and energy. It's no longer about just doing something, anything, to feel productive. It's about intentionally doing the right thing at the right moment, optimizing your output based on your actual current reality, your location, your time, your energy, your priorities.
That sounds much more sustainable.
It is, and the implications are profound for achieving that elusive goal of true stress-free productivity. When you're acting from a place of clarity and control because you trust your system, rather than reacting impulsively to the loudest noise or the most urgent-seeming demand, that's where genuine stress-free productivity truly begins to manifest in your life.
The stress reduction comes from the trust.
Absolutely. You're not driven by anxiety or the constant fear of forgetting something crucial because you know your trusted system is handling all of that mental overhead for you. Your mind is then free to focus completely and singularly on the task at hand, which usually leads to higher quality work, deeper engagement, and just a much calmer state of being overall. You gain confidence not just in what you are doing, but also in what you are consciously not doing right now, because you know it's captured safely elsewhere.
Okay, that's the whole 5-step framework laid out. And, listening to it, it sounds incredibly logical, almost self-evident on paper.
hmm
But how does this actually play out in the messy, unpredictable reality of a busy modern life? Let's try and put this into perspective with a more concrete, real-world example, just like the source material often does, to really see GTD in action.
Yeah, a case study is helpful.
Let's imagine someone, let's call her Sarah. Sarah's a marketing manager, and she is just completely overwhelmed, perpetually feeling behind schedule, struggling to juggle this relentless flood of emails, constant client calls that interrupt her flow, managing her team effectively, and somehow trying to fit in her personal errands like groceries and dry cleaning, all while feeling like she's constantly dropping balls and letting people down.
Sounds painfully familiar for many people.
Right. Sound familiar to anyone listening? I can certainly remember my own pre-GPD life feeling very much like Sarah's picture of chaos.
It's a scenario so many of us can relate to, isn't it? That picture of modern overwhelm. So let's walk through how GTD would systematically start to transform Sarah's situation, linking each of the 5 steps directly back to her specific problems and showing the resulting relief she might feel.
Okay, let's do it. Step 1, capture.
Right. First, with capture, Sarah would need to undertake a comprehensive brain dump. Everything swirling around in her mind. Email boss about that report deadline, need to buy groceries, must finish the Q3 campaign report, call client X back immediately, remember to take out the recycling tonight, that idea I had for a new marketing campaign slogan, pay the credit card bill before the due date. She'd need to write it all down. Every single thing.
Get it out no matter how small.
Exactly. She'd get it out of her head and into a designated capture tool. Maybe it's a simple notebook she starts carrying everywhere, or maybe she downloads a specific GTD app that syncs across her work computer and her phone. The crucial first win is the immediate mental relief she'd feel just from seeing it all externalized. No longer having to mentally juggle all those competing demands. It's like hitting a save button on her overloaded brain.
Okay, step 1, relief. Step 2,
Yeah.
clarify.
Next, clarify. She'd then need to systematically go through each item she captured, one by one, making those concrete decisions. Email boss about report deadline. Okay, is it actionable? Yes. What's the next action? Maybe just send quick email confirming deadline. If that's genuinely under 2 minutes, should do it right now. Boom, done. One loop closed instantly.
Using the 2-minute rule.
Exactly. Finish Q3 campaign report, actionable? Yes. But it's clearly a multi-step task. So that immediately gets identified as a project in GTD terms. Buy groceries, actionable, yes. What's the next action? Make grocery list. That might take more than 2 minutes, so make grocery list goes on a next actions list, perhaps tagged with an at home or at errands context. This disciplined clarification process immediately starts breaking down her vague mental load into concrete, manageable actions or clear categories. It eliminates ambiguity and the paralysis of indecision. She's no longer looking at an overwhelming, amorphous to-do cloud, but specific, actionable steps.
Making the chaos manageable. Step 3.
Then, organize. Her Q3 campaign report goes onto her projects list, so she has a master list of her multi-step outcomes, keeping it visible and trackable. Its immediate next action might be something specific, like write first draft of campaign report introduction. And that specific action goes onto her main next actions list, perhaps under an at computer or at office context, ready for when she's in the right place with the right tools. Call supplier for quote goes onto her at calls list. Pick up dry cleaning is date specific if she needs it by Friday, so that gets put onto her calendar for Friday afternoon. This step methodically tidies everything up into those distinct logical categories. Her lists become actionable and tidy, each item in its proper home, ready to be accessed only when the context is right, not cluttering her view otherwise.
Everything in its place. Step 4. Reflect.
Now for the crucial maintenance. Reflect. Sarah would need to implement the weekly review religiously. Maybe she blocks out 90 minutes every Sunday afternoon. During that time, she'd review her completed tasks from the week, giving herself a pat on the back. She'd update her project list, ensuring every single project still had a clearly defined next action to keep it moving. She'd recapture any new thoughts or tasks that popped up during the week that hadn't yet been processed through Clarify and Organize, basically emptying her mental RAM again. She'd check her waiting for list to follow up on anything outstanding that others owe her, and she'd quickly scan her someday maybe list, maybe that learn graphic design basics idea suddenly feels relevant for her marketing role. This consistent maintenance prevents anything crucial from slipping through the cracks, keeps her system fresh and reliable, and, most importantly, rebuilds her trust in it week after week.
Building that trust muscle. Okay, finally, step 5. Engage.
And finally, engage. How does Sarah work differently day to day? During her work hours, she no longer just reacts frantically to emails or whoever shouts loudest. Instead, she consults her at office and at computer context lists, knowing these contain the tasks she can and should be doing right now. While commuting on the train, maybe she pulls up her calls list and efficiently knocks out a few necessary phone calls. On the weekend, when she's heading out, she checks her at errands list for personal tasks like groceries and dry cleaning, batching them effectively. The overall outcome for Sarah is potentially transformative. She starts to feel profoundly more in control. She's no longer constantly missing deadlines or feeling behind. Her mental clarity dramatically increases because she's not holding everything in her head. And that clarity, in turn, frees up cognitive resources for higher creativity in her marketing role and significantly less stress day to day. This is the real aha moment for so many people who adopt GTD, the realization that it's not just about doing more, it's about feeling calmer and more in control while you do it. Hashtag 2.1, timeless quotes from David Allen.
That case study really brings it to life, doesn't it?
Ew.
It transforms GTD from being just an abstract system into a tangible, relatable change in someone's daily experience. And I think it's these profound shifts in perspective, the underlying philosophy, that truly elevate GTD beyond just being a system of lists and folders. David Allen has such a remarkable way with words, and some of his core quotes really encapsulate the deeper wisdom at the heart of GTD. They're more than just catchy aphorisms. They feel like guiding principles for managing modern life.
They really are potent. They stick with you.
One of my absolute favorites, which feels so incredibly powerful and necessary in our perpetually overloaded world, is this one. You can do anything, but not everything.
That's a big one.
It really is. This isn't just about time management in the narrow sense. It's a profound acknowledgement of our inherent human limitations. It embodies the crucial power of learning to say no, or at the very least, consciously acknowledging that every time you say yes to one thing, you are inherently implicitly saying no to countless other possibilities for that same slice of time and energy. It forces us to set intentional boundaries and make deliberate choices about what truly matters, free us from that debilitating burden of feeling we should be able to do it all, and the unrealistic self-expectations that follow. It's really about conscious focus and the courage to exclude the less important.
That resonates deeply, the freedom in limitation.
Exactly. Another incredibly insightful quote, one that speaks directly to our often overwhelmed brains, is this. If you don't pay appropriate attention to what has your attention, it will take more of your attention than it deserves.
Ooh, that's good. Let that sink in.
Right. Think about that for a moment. All those unchecked mental loops, that nagging feeling that you're forgetting something crucial, the half-finished thoughts that keep popping up again and again, demanding just a little piece of your focus each time. They're insidious. They're constantly draining your energy and focus in the background, often without you even realizing the full cognitive toll they're taking. GTD, at its core, is fundamentally about bringing intentionality and structure to those things that grab your attention so they don't silently hijack your precious mental bandwidth and leave you feeling scattered and drained.
It's about managing attention, not just tasks. And building on that, there's another quote that might seem almost counterintuitive coming from a productivity guru, yet I think it's deeply profound. Your ability to generate power is directly proportional to your ability to relax.
Power and relaxation linked. How does that work?
Well, it raises that important question. How does an effective productivity system like GTD actually increase your capacity for genuine rest and deeper, more meaningful work, rather than just cramming more work into your day? The core insight here, I believe, is that by externalizing all your perceived commitments, all those open loops, into a system you truly trust, your brain can finally shut off its relentless mental to-do list function.
Ah, the off switch.
Exactly. When you know deep down that everything is captured, clarified, and organized in a reliable external system, your brain no longer feels the need to constantly remember things or nag you about potential forgotten items. This frees up immense cognitive resources. Resources you can then dedicate to true creative thinking, strategic planning, complex problem solving, or, just as importantly, simply enjoying your downtime reading a book, talking with family, going for a walk without that insidious, nagging feeling of forgotten tasks lurking in the background. It's the ultimate paradox. True productivity, the kind that generates real power and insight, actually comes from allowing yourself the space to disengage fully and relax deeply.
That's a powerful connection.
These quotes really underscore that GTD isn't just about managing your tasks or optimizing a workflow on a superficial level. It's fundamentally about managing your attention and managing your energy. It's about creating a state of mind, often called mind like water in GTD circles, where you can truly focus on what matters most, when it matters most, without the constant distraction of what you might be forgetting or the low-level anxiety of undifferentiated commitments. It empowers you to be fully present and engaged wherever you are, whether that's deep in focused work or deep in genuine relaxation. Hashtag 2.2 tools for implementation.
Okay, so we understand the philosophy, the steps, the benefits. Now, while GTD is very much a methodology, a way of thinking and processing information, it's not purely abstract, is it? You need tools. Tools are absolutely essential for its practical application day to day. It's pretty hard to capture everything reliably if you don't have a reliable capture tool handy, right?
Absolutely. The system needs a physical or digital home.
But the beauty of GTD, and I think one reason it's lasted so long, is its incredible versatility when it comes to tools. It seems to work with pretty much anything, from super low-tech, pen and paper-based systems, all the way up to incredibly sophisticated high-tech digital platforms. The underlying system seems robust enough to adapt to whatever tools you prefer or have available.
That's definitely one of its strengths. It's tool agnostic at its core.
Our source material mentions, of course, a range of digital apps, which are incredibly popular these days for implementing GTD. And you can see why they often offer really useful features like cross-device synchronization, super quick capture widgets, powerful filtering, tagging, and search capabilities. Things like Todoist, Things3, Notion, Microsoft To Do, OmniFocus, these are all robust, popular options that allow for complex organization and make accessing your lists from anywhere pretty easy.
Digital definitely offers advantages for mobility and search.
For sure. But it's really crucial to remember, isn't it, that you absolutely don't need a fancy, expensive app to start getting benefits from GTD. Many dedicated GTD practitioners, including apparently David Allen himself at various times, prefer incredibly simple, physical, low-tech tools.
Oh yeah, paper systems are still very popular and effective.
Simple notebooks for capture and lists, maybe specific physical folders for project support material and reference items, old-school labelers to keep things tidy, even traditional filing cabinets for paper documents. The key isn't the level of technology. It seems to be the consistent adherence to the GTD principles using whatever tools you choose.
Consistency over complexity.
Exactly. And for those time-specific items, a calendar is, of course, critical regardless of your other tools. This could be Google Calendar, or Outlook Calendar for their digital prowess, sharing capabilities, and reminder functions. Or it could be a traditional paper planner or diary for those who prefer that tangible feel and visual overview. Again, the choice often comes down to personal preference and what integrates best with your overall workflow.
Whatever you'll actually look at reliably.
Right. And finally, for all that reference material, the stuff that doesn't require action but you need to keep just in case, having a solid, easily accessible reference system is key. Whether that's meticulously organized digital folders in Google Drive, Dropbox, Evernote, or OneDrive, or a well-organized physical filing system with clear labels. The main goal is easy retrieval when you need it, not having to rely on your mental recall of where you saved that important document months ago.
Findability is crucial for reference. But what's truly crucial to understand here, I think, and it bears repeating, is that the specific choice of tool is far, far less important than your consistency in using the chosen tool or set of tools for its intended GTD purpose. The system itself is robust enough to work with almost anything that allows you to reliably capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage according to the principles.
So the tool serves the method, not the other way around.
Precisely. What won't work, and this is a really common pitfall you see people fall into when they first try GTD, is constantly jumping between different tools, always chasing the perfect app, tweaking settings endlessly, or adopting a new tool without a fundamental understanding of how it fits into the overall GTD workflow. This kind of tool hopping, or productivity porn, as some call it, can actually increase friction, waste time, and ultimately erode your trust in your system because it never feels stable.
Focusing on the shiny object instead of the habit.
Exactly. The best tool for you is always going to be the one you will consistently use day in and day out, the one that feels natural, the one you can truly trust to hold everything reliably. It's the disciplined adherence to the methodology and the steady cultivation of the core GTD habits that unlocks the profound power of this system, not the specific brand of notebook you buy or the feature set of the app you choose.
Okay, so we've really broken down the 5 steps. We've explored a case study of how it can transform a busy individual's life and work, and we've hopefully got a deeper understanding of the underlying philosophy and even the flexibility around tools. But bringing it all together, at the end of the day, what does all this really mean for you, the person listening right now? Why should you consider investing the time and, let's face it, the initial effort required to adopt a comprehensive system like GTD? What are the profound, lasting benefits that make it worthwhile?
That's the bottom line question, isn't it? And the benefits are indeed profound, often touching almost every aspect of your professional and personal life in really meaningful ways if you commit to it. First and foremost, and this is usually the biggest draw for people initially, GTD dramatically reduces mental overload, that constant background hum of things you might be forgetting, that feeling of having way too many tabs open in your brain, the low-grade anxiety that comes from unacknowledged commitments. GTD directly and powerfully addresses that core pain point by giving everything a proper, trusted home outside your mind. It's genuinely like defragging your mental hard drive.
Mental defragging. I like that. Less fragmentation.
Exactly. Second, it helps you focus on the right things. And this is a critical shift for effectiveness. Instead of being constantly reactive, always putting out the latest fire and just responding to the most recent urgent email or demand that lands in your inbox, GTD empowers you to be intensely intentional with your attention. You consciously move from simply being busy, maybe chaotically busy, to doing the right things at the right time, based on clarity, context, and conscious choice derived from your trusted system. This is where true strategic work and meaningful progress actually happen.
Moving from reactive to proactive.
Precisely. Third, and this is truly transformative for many people who stick with it, it builds unwavering trust in your own productivity system. That profound feeling of confidence that nothing important will be forgotten, that every single commitment you've made is accounted for somewhere reliable, that your brain doesn't have to constantly try and act as a reminder system. This is invaluable. It's about being able to genuinely tell yourself it's handled, it's in the system, and truly believe it. That allows your mind to fully relax and dedicate its power to the task at hand, or to genuine rest and recovery.
The confidence that nothing is slipping through.
Yes, that confidence is huge. Fourth, maybe surprisingly for some, it increases creativity and flow. When your mind is no longer bowed down by trying to remember dozens of mundane tasks or constantly wrestling with vague, undefined commitments, it frees up immense cognitive resources. This newfound mental spaciousness allows for deeper work, for more innovative thinking, for tackling complex problems more effectively, and for more easily entering that elusive state of flow where you are fully immersed, highly productive, and genuinely enjoying your work without internal distractions pulling you away. It's really the difference between trying to work creatively on a cluttered, messy desk versus a clean, clear workspace.
Clearing the mental decks for creativity.
Exactly. And finally, GTD powerfully aligns your daily work with your bigger goals. By consistently reviewing your projects during the weekly review, by always clarifying their next actions, and by consciously connecting those small daily steps to your larger outcomes and even your higher horizons of focus, which in GTD terms means your areas of responsibility, your 1 to 2 year goals, your 5 year vision, and ultimately your life purpose. You ensure that your daily grind isn't just frantic activity, but actually contributes meaningfully to your long term aspirations. You're not just busy, you're consciously building something deliberate and significant, one next action at a time.
Connecting the dots from small tasks to big picture.
Precisely. So when you put it all together, GTD is far more than just a productivity methodology or a fancy task manager. It's truly a holistic mind management system. It's a structured way to free your mind to be calm, focused, and creative, to engage with the world more intentionally on your own terms, and ultimately to live and work with greater purpose and presence.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into a system that has, it seems, genuinely changed how so many people approach not just their work, but their entire lives. Listening to all this, it's really clear that GTD isn't fundamentally about working harder. It seems to be much more about working smarter and, crucially, with significantly less stress, all by creating this trusted external system that literally holds your mental burdens for you, so your brain doesn't have to.
That's a perfect summary. It offloads the burden.
And as the source material highlights, and as you've emphasized, even if adopting the whole system feels daunting right now, just picking up and consistently implementing parts of GTD, like maybe starting with just the powerful 2-minute rule for knocking out quick tasks, or perhaps committing to making the weekly review a non-negotiable habit, even those smaller steps can bring noticeable and profoundly positive improvements to your sense of control and clarity.
Absolutely. You don't have to boil the ocean. Start somewhere.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through that. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on this deep dive into David Allen's Getting Things Done.
My pleasure. And perhaps just a final thought to leave you with. If David Allen is right, if your mind is truly for having ideas and not holding them, just imagine for a moment what incredible new ideas, what exciting new projects, what solutions to lingering problems could you unlock if you were able to fully unburden your mental bandwidth starting today? Perhaps the most powerful first step isn't some complex plan, but simply to consider what might your very first capture be? What's that one little thing swirling in your head right now that you could just write down, get it out, truly let go of it mentally, and immediately feel just that little bit more sense of relief and space?